Yep, it's another cruise video. I want to get these out because I want to get them over with, because I feel like the information is important and it's also changing all the time. So I'm just gonna crank out these videos so that they're out, so that you can have them, so I can move on and make some other stuff, just because I want to talk about this stuff, but I don't want to drag it all the way into February. I just want to get it done and over with, but I didn't want to do it in Vlogmas. It's a long, complicated mess, and I'm sure you don't care. So I'm just gonna talk about it this week, and then it will be over and we can all move on, because I'm sure some of you care and I'm sure some of you don't care at all. Time changes on board Disney Cruise Line. This is like once you get on the ship. I'm not going to talk about time changes getting to the ship. It's too difficult for me to talk about. So you'll just have to deal with your jet lag and your own time change. Set your phone to automatically change the time and you'll be set. When you get on the ship, however, time changes are different, because you cannot just set it automatically. Never works for me. I always have trouble with that, and I'm never on the right time zone. So how do you make sure that you have your phone set to the correct time zone while you're on board? It's got to be manual. So you go into your settings, and I'll do a screen recording so you can see. Go into your settings and set it to manual. Disney Cruise Line will send you like a text message on the app. On the Disney Cruise Line app, they're going to text you, and I think it comes from guest services, and it's a text message that will tell you, tonight move your clocks forward or 1 hour backward. And so it's kind of sort of clear. The best way to know what time it is on the ship is to turn on your stateroom TV and look at the time there. The time on that TV, I have found, is always correct. If there's an alarm clock in the stateroom, it's kind of not dependable, because that's the one you have to change. I don't know if the stateroom host ever changes it. They probably don't. If it's still even in there, like, I don't know. But you have to do it manually. Sometimes, I want to talk specifically about my most recent experience on the ship. My mom and I did the Panama Canal sailing from San Diego to Galveston. So we started in Florida, we flew to San Diego, California. We got on the ship, and then I think that night we had a time change going to Cabo San Lucas. And I think that was like, we had a day at sea and then we had Cabo San Lucas. But I think we had a time change either the first night or the second night. So we kept losing hours. Before we even went through the canal, we were on Eastern time. So it was very strange to know where we are, like, in the world and all of the longitudinal lines, and to see on the map, we're over here, but we're in Florida time already, because of things like variables like daylight savings time, things like different time zones, and then like 4 different countries. So some of them may observe daylight savings time, some of them may not. It all depends on when you're sailing. It all depends on how many time zones you're going to cross. But time zones on the ship and knowing what time it is are really important. You have to know what time it is so you can be at dinner at the right time, so you can make your reservations at the right time, so you can go to activities and not be late or early, so that you can meet characters, and so even you can make your shore excursions. It's really, really important for you to know what time it is and know the correct time when you're getting on the ship, or when you're on the ship. So these are, you know, some of my tips that help me. I always will turn on the TV at night to check the time if it's like late. I think they usually change the clock like 11 or 12 o'clock at night on the TV. And if I don't check at night, I'll check first thing in the morning. I'll turn on the TV to see what time it is, and then I will appropriately adjust the time zone to my phone, and I do that manually. Something else that I have started doing is on my phone, I have an Apple phone, so I go to my clock app and I have the world clock. So I have a bunch of different countries, or I have a bunch of different time zones, so I can like punch in the manual time zone that I'm looking for, because sometimes it's tricky and you're like, is this in the right time zone? And then it's like a trial and error sort of thing. So I'll put a screen recording of that in there so you can see what I'm talking about. but I don't know that I've ever watched a cruise vlog talk specifically about time changes and dealing with them. Disney Cruise Line is doing things a little bit differently now. They used to leave like a card, not a business card, it was a little bit bigger than that. It was maybe like a postcard size piece of paper that would have a clock on it, and it would tell you turn your clocks 1 hour forward tonight or turn your clocks 1 hour backward at night, and it would be left on your bed in your stateroom by your stateroom host when they did the turn down service in the evening. So you would know around dinner time-ish if you're gonna have a time change the next day. So with the way things are now, you get the text message from guest services, and I think they sent it out at like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, so it was generally later in the day. But I think they got rid of the paper card because they're trying to reduce the amount of paper waste on the ship, and I understand that. I think, you know, that there are other ways that they could do that, but I understand what they're trying to do with the app and the text message, and it worked mostly, so it was pretty effective. But anyway, I know that this is a short video, but I just wanted to talk about time changes on board a Disney cruise, because it's something that you don't, or something I don't really think about until I get to the cruise and we're going through the time changes. And having done a bunch of cruises now, it's easier for me to kind of anticipate the time changes. But I was struck again by the importance of time changes on our most recent cruise, because we got on the ship on Friday, and then on Sunday night, it was the daylight, or Saturday night, I think it's Saturday night, they did the daylight savings time change. So we had that time change, plus we had all of the other time changes just to, like, for the time zones, and we ended up being in Eastern time when we were in Cozumel, and then we didn't have another port until we got to Galveston. So we were in Eastern time in Cozumel, and then we had to go back an hour to get into Galveston, and it was just sort of odd to go Florida time to California time, all the way back to Florida time, and then you have to go back to Central time, and then we flew home back to Eastern time. It was weird, but it was fine. A little bit confusing. Something that I want to mention here before I close out this video is that if you live in the Eastern time zone and you're gonna do a cruise out of like the West Coast, unless you like eating dinner at 11 p.m., choose the first dining time, because like the main seating, because if you choose the late dining or the second seating of dinner, it's gonna be like 11:15 for dinner time, and for me that's just too late. I did the Panama Canal cruise with my dad in 2019, and so I flew out to California. The next day we got on the ship, and we actually did Palo on that very first night together, and I was falling asleep at the table because we didn't have Palo dinner until like 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and I was so tired because of the jet lag coming from Florida, and then, you know, dinner was at I think 10 or 11 o'clock at night for me, from, you know, what I was used to, and it was so late and I was so tired. So that's one of my suggestions to maybe handle the time change a little bit better, is to do the earlier dining time, just because it does make it so much easier to eat dinner because it's at a more normal time. But anyway, that's all I really wanted to talk about, was time change and how Disney handles it and things that you can do. I will insert all those things in the editing process, so you should see them, but I will also add them again here at the end just so you can see them again. But that's gonna be it from me for today, and you guys will see me in the next video. Bye.